I am attracted to people that are hungry for knowledge. So they would like to know more. Like myself, I think that was my dad's fault. He always encouraged me to ask a question, to know more, to talk to people, to listen to them. Education, knowledge, I think they go very well hand in hand. And more on the topic from my today's guest.
The ViaMia show is sponsored by the following people.
The Greek philosopher and scientist Aristotle said, the roots of education may be bitter, but the fruit is sweet. I'm sure my today's guest will agree on it with me. I'd like to welcome and introduce a professor of history and languages, Dr. MIGUEL Angel Aviles-GALAN. Hello, Miguel. Introducing you is like 4 people sitting here. You know how long it took me to, did I do it right?
It's perfect.
Angel?
Yes, that's my name. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mia.
Couldn't be more difficult.
Well, Spanish names, they're most of the time a little bit different.
Yeah, well, of course. As we know, you are not Canadian, you're not the only one with the accent on this set. But yes, you're coming from somewhere else. Before we get into your roots in the past, how am I doing with this introduction? Did you agree with me a little bit what I was saying?
Absolutely. I think the Aristotle, motto has lots to do with knowledge and education that go hand in hand. Education could be a hard process sometimes, but the end results, the outcome of that process is very sweet.
Yeah.
It provides lots of fruits, yes.
So I agree on that.
I agree.
Okay, let's go back. Where are you coming from? Why you are here, not here, but why you're in Canada? What brought you here?
Yes. I was born in Mexico, educated in Mexico, and then I had the fortune to do some travel in Latin America. My family moved to Argentina, and then we moved back to Mexico. And the reason why I'm here is because I wanted to study my master's degree. The kind of master and the field that I was looking for was not at the moment available back in Mexico. So I decided to apply for American and Canadian universities simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And I got accepted in both. But it just happened by coincidence, 9/11. So the American intake programs in many universities shut down because of the issues that happened after that. And in Canada, it was incredibly appealing for me. So I decided to give it a try. And I came to Canada in 2002, and I finished my master's. And then when I finished my master's, at the time, this supervisor asked me, what are you gonna do now, Miguel? Are you going back to Mexico? And I say, yeah, I'm thinking. And he said, no, you should stay here in Canada and continue your PhD.
You see, so this wasn't enough. So you didn't leave Mexico because you wanted to leave the country.
That's true.
You left because you wanted to educate yourself. You wanted to learn more. And seems like you also want to spread the skills you learn.
That's very true. I'm always been very focused on knowledge and in sharing knowledge. I love to share what I know about the world and the things that I love to share with other people. It's always a way of, like a two-way process. the more that I learn, the more that I want to share.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's great. As long as you have people, they're like a sponge. They like to absorb
Yes.
things for you. We don't have a website for Miguel yet, right? But if you would like to contact him or see, I think you have Facebook page.
Yes.
Facebook page with his name, Miguel Angel Aviles-GALAN, and maybe by the time that, you know, when somebody would like to really go and search for you, they can find you online, that you're working on your website.
Absolutely. I'm working on my website. It's going to be ready in, I guess, in a couple of weeks from now, from this point on. I like to be that this website is going to be finished 100%.
Yeah,
when I go to a new site and they say under construction, I don't like that. So mine's
You
gonna
are
be...
not one of those under construction.
No.
This is great. You appeal to me as a very young person to obtain what you managed to obtain. You educated yourself. You got your PhD in history.
That's correct.
Amazing, absolutely. Is anything else you haven't done yet that you would like?
Well, I guess I would like to travel more. I have traveled a lot, but I would love to continue into that path. Yes.
So you chose a history for your final exam. Why was why history?
Oh, that's a really good question. I was very much into literature, philosophy, and linguistics. I did my bachelor's in linguistics and literature, and continue with more linguistics and more literature in the master's program. But history was always in the background of linguistics and philosophy. And I decided that it would be very beneficial for me to have the whole historical perspective of that linguistic and philosophical background, which is history, which is time and space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And history, it goes well with geography, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, fantastic.
And you're interested in that as well. I have a reason why I'm asking that question. Number one, does history change?
Wow, that's a huge question.
Well, it's short to me.
Oh yeah, I'm saying that it's a huge question because this is still under debate for many historians and different, you know, kind of scholars in the social sciences. But I do believe that history has changed, absolutely.
I was waiting for the answer because, in my opinion, I can't really understand how history can change. I really can't. It's there, done.
That's true. Yeah, when we think about the historical past, we think that things are already there, that happened, everything changed. But when you connect long chunks of time and space, let's say like a couple of centuries together, and you look for the cuts in between, you may notice that there was change. So the things have changed progressively.
What are you doing to my mind right now? Because I don't understand at all. What does make history interesting? What is it?
I think history has kind of a, I'm not going to use Aristotle again, 4 components. The first one will be a time. The second one will be like a place. The third one will be actors. And the fourth will be action, something happened. Okay. So I guess when you consider those things, what is really appealing about it, you know, history is that they might be actors, that they have different motivations for doing the things that they did in the past, and also they might be responding to circumstances in a very specific time, or the place itself play a role too. That's how this very interactive history.
No, well, I'm listening to you. Don't think that I'm not, but there is something what I'm keeping in my mind, because I'd like to have your opinion, what you think about those unexplained phenomena. You know, what we have, the world carries. We can use pyramids, but we can use something else, what people don't talk about on a regular basis. Some monument group in Bolivia, I don't know, I'm not going to doubt your knowledge, but Pumapunku in Bolivia.
Oh, yeah.
It's sitting there on the top for how many thousands?
Yeah, thousands of years.
And how did it get there? Can anybody explain this to me?
Wow, that's another really good question. Pumapunku was a pre-Inca Aymara culture site in Bolivia. And I'm trying to put things in perspective because we know of Machu Picchu, which is in Peru. And Machu Picchu is
Okay,
after
we have some
Pumapunku.
we have some images, so we can go to the later.
Perfect.
But I like to, I don't. It's probably answer a question for a very long answer, but nobody's giving me the answer. Who brought it there? Who built it there? Was it?
We really don't know.
So you don't.
Honestly, we really don't know. We have some hypotheses, we have some theories of the people of the civilization that built Pumapunku, but 100% sure. No, we're not.
Okay, I get the same answer that I always do. But I'm curious about those pictures you brought. Can we
Yes,
look at them?
absolutely.
So this is the first one.
Oh, this place is Teotihuacan in Mexico.
Yeah, it told me a lot.
And Teotihuacan is in the Aztec culture is one of the most important sites for worship and for religions.
Okay, so we can, what would be the other one? We go
That's Machu Picchu.
Okay.
That's the place
And
I
that's
was talking about.
Isn't it Peru?
That is in Peru.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in Peru and belongs to the same culture of the Pumapunku site.
Okay, you've been there. This is
I've been there, yes. I took
your
that
picture.
photograph myself.
Beautiful.
Yes. It's
Let's take a
beautiful,
look
it's
at the other
breathtaking.
one. Next one. I like this picture. I wonder what that was.
Oh, this is also in Mexico, in southern Mexico City, where in this particular place, the name is Coyoacán, that is the predominant colonial Spanish style of the housings around in that part of Mexico City. And the reason why I picked that is because it amalgamates history. On the one hand is, the history of Mexico, but on the other hand is the history of the Spanish.
And how far do we go in this?
We go like 16th centuries back.
Really?
Yes, this is kind of a colonial style of the 16th century. The next picture, this one, is from the main cathedral in the city of Oaxaca, in Mexico City. But it's in the city of Oaxaca. And it's really interesting because this cathedral was built on top of a very important indigenous culture site.
Oh.
So below, underneath that,
Is?
there is a temple, an indigenous temple.
And you've been there as well?
I've been there as well.
Okay.
Oh, this is beautiful. It just happened that particular day I was there in Oaxaca. They were dancing, and people from different towns and villages from all over the state of Oaxaca, they came down to that particular plaza, and they performed dances, and they shared food, and they were dressed up with these colorful dresses, and that shows how the indigenous culture is still alive.
Nice. There are beautiful pictures. Really nice what you brought and shared with us. I can see a lot of history there, and I'd like to ask you more questions.
Sure.
Maybe we take a very short break, and with Professor of History, Dr. Miguel Angel Aviles-GALAN, we'll be back again.
The ViaMia show is sponsored by the following people.
Recording studio, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video, filming and editing in New Westminster. For more information, fiascobro.com. Cuts and colors in Uptown New Westminster. We welcome our stylist, George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Security and alarm systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121. Makeup services for television, film, and photo shoots. For more information, visit www.victoriawan.com.
We are back with Professor of History and Languages, Dr. Miguel Angel Aviles-GALAN. Miguel?
Yes.
that name, why is it making such a hard time on me? And it's such a beautiful name.
Thank you.
So we were watching some pictures before we stepped in a break. Again, what it had to do with the history? It's just because some of pictures, yeah, you told me is 1700.
Yes.
And all the stuff, it just blend, right?
Yes.
So obviously your country and South America, I would say like any other continent, carried a lot of history. Some of it we don't even know about.
That's very true. You know, the foundations of what we know of our contemporary lifestyle were processed like 500 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and South America play a role in that, and Mexico play a role in that
course.
too. Yes, absolutely.
It's beautiful that you keep it,
Yes.
that you keep it alive. Okay, we talk about you are into history, you're also teaching languages.
That's correct.
What kind of languages?
I teach Spanish mainly, and I teach a little bit of Italian. In my family side, we have Italian roots as well. And probably because of that, I was always drawn into teaching languages because I was able to learn from both sides of my family, the Italian and the Spanish.
Yeah.
And they are all connected because they are Romance languages, both, including French, including Portuguese.
Okay.
And ever since I wanted to know more about the languages of my family roots, of my family background. So I started, you know, to read more and to be in contact with people.
Do you also teach English?
I do teach English, particularly from new immigrants coming into Canada with different, you know, multicultural settings as well.
Well, I'm not familiar, unfortunately, with Spanish. Well, I know it exists, okay? But I just don't understand. I don't speak Spanish. But with the I'm quite happy that I learned English. So now let's stay with the English language for a while, because what I'm interested is now, how are we doing in terms of vocabulary? You know, average English-speaking people, would you be able to tell me how many words our vocabulary carries?
Well, in the English language, according to the, you know, the grammar and the rules of the grammar of the English language, there are more than 8,000 words. So you look at a dictionary and you may have more than 8,000
8,000 words. That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words.
Okay.
And when people like myself, that I am not an English native speaker, I went to school and studied the English language, I was like overwhelmed by the, you know, the amount of words that are you know, available in the English language. And after living for 12 years here in Canada, I can say that most likely people use no more than 120 words.
120
Yes.
out of 8,000?
Out of 8,000, yeah. So in the regular way of talking,
Isn't this a wake-up call?
I guess it is. And it's happening everywhere. Even, you know, in Spanish-speaking countries, people are using less and less and less vocabulary.
What's going, I don't know, are we heading again to the silent era? Because, you know, I'm just wondering, I think I kind of guess what's helping to the shrinking of the languages, all these technology, beautiful devices.
Yes.
And the communication. How do we communicate, in your opinion?
Well, I think that we are using a blend of communication that is, you know, subordinating the oral speech, the subordination of the oral speech into technology devices, let's say Twitter, Facebooking, and all the mass media, you know, means that are available and using the internet. And we are reducing our ability to communicate because of that. Because we tend to do faster communications. We are more focused into the speed of that communication than in the content of that communication.
So physical contact and communication is lacking.
Oh yes,
Big time. Yeah, well, I can say what I think that the written, for example, written communication is important as well. Is we getting less and less of that as well, or how is it?
I think you're right about that because, you know, written communication used to be for centuries letters. People used to sit down, take their times, think about the things that they would like to, you know, write down and address many things. But now we're doing that less and less because we are putting that aside on the benefit of having expedited communications, emailing and, you know, tweets and text messages.
Well, people don't have time now, not even to sit down, but even think about what they're going to write, because all the spell check is going to do all that stuff for you.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that, you know, the language as itself, I mean, it's an art, you know, it's way of how to communicate. And why is it going that? We probably know. So what you would recommend to this thing to stop? We have to read, we have to have the conversation.
Yes.
What else?
Yes, we have to be more engaging in conversations. We have to read more. We have to, you know, give ourselves a little bit of time. Technology is good, but it's not the only means of communication. You know, face-to-face interaction will never be a substitute for texting or, you know, emailing, because that, you know, implies that the speakers and the people that are, you know, doing the speech has to think about, has to address that particular audience or the person in hand in order to communicate something.
Yeah.
It's really important.
It
Yes.
is. So how do you use it with your student?
Well, for me, is the number one rule in every, you know, tutoring session that I have or classroom, that we forget about the world, and what is, you know, really important is this interaction, the human interaction, the face-to-face communication, the engaging in the communication, asking questions, you know.
So you support this? You encourage this?
100% I support that.
Well,
Yes.
that's great, because that's not what I hear all the time, how the students are facing more websites and links and things more than face-to-face with their teacher.
Well, there's a trend now, because, you know, the 21st, you know, century education is kind of a blend of, you know, mass media, websites, and internet technology with focus on education. But the interaction with the teacher, with the professor, will never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Will never be, you know, in any means, because that's how I feel. I'm a humanist, and I believe that interaction is essential for the process of education.
So what you're trying to say, that in terms of communication, things are not going to be improving?
It seems to me that it's going to take a while for that.
Well, I don't know. Looking at your face, you're optimist.
I'm very optimistic.
When we're talking about the written forms and the written communication, let's talk about a little bit about the proper writing. How about using contraction in letters?
Well, you know, the traditional approach to language when it's in the written language is not to use contractions.
No.
No. The proper writing styles and academic styles avoids, by all means, the use of contractions.
You could do not, cannot?
Yes, of course not.
Okay,
Yes.
not.
We will not.
Yes. Well, I don't know how many people speak or write like that. I do write letters like that because I don't like to look for apostrophe, so I don't use contractions.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, you know, well, I'm just going to give an example. In academia, you won't see any kind of contractions. If you are like in the process of publishing a paper and you submit your paper to a journal, let's say, they won't allow you to use contractions.
No.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's interesting. You know, a long time ago, I took TSL. I thought that I could teach English overseas, and as soon as I finished 2 modules, I kind of gave up. When I saw where I would have to travel, I realized to stay where I And there are interesting things that our teacher is giving us, and I hear different opinions from every side, you know. Yeah, in terms of contraction, yes, he was with you there. Now, when we talk, for example, using, you know what was interesting, using tenses in English language.
Yes.
I was the only person in a class as an immigrant. All of them were born in Canada. And they had to be taught when to use which tense. You know how many tenses English language have?
Well, we have 4 main tenses, and we used to have more in the old days in the English language. But we have 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I counted like 12.
There are 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we use 4.
Mm-hmm. But for example, when I ask, like, you teach English language, why don't you just give me brief lesson right here? When I say, I was there and I've been there. I know the difference, okay? But when I ask a regular person, which I have before, what's the difference? And I was told it's the same.
Well, if I say I was there, is an action that already
Finished,
is
ended.
finished. It's ended. It's already accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
But if I say I've been there, is the continuation of something that used to be happening in the past,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that is still open to something.
Okay.
So it's not the same.
So it's kind of leading towards the present time?
Kind to lead us into the present time, yes, but initiated or originated in the past. Yeah, I've been talking for 20 minutes now.
Yeah, you have. If I can ask before I will thank you and say goodbye to you because the time is pressuring us. What about idols, any mentors, anybody who inspired you doing what you're doing?
Well, probably, people may know who this guy is, but for me, it's a real mentor, and the name is Jean Piaget. This guy was a Swiss educator, and he revolutionized education because he focused on how children learn. What is the process for the children to learn? So I read a lot about the Piaget, and I realized that most of the educators and teachers, we have to have some pedagogical, tools and frameworks to work with. There are so many others, but Piaget, in my personal experience, is one of my idols.
Well, I think that I got my answer. Very interesting, and you never know when you step into history and people will be talking about you as a big idol. I really enjoy talking to you, Miguel.
Thank you.
Again, being here with Dr. Miguel Angel Aviles-GALAN was my pleasure. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. You can find him on Facebook. And before you go, I would like you to put signature on the cup.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me over today.
Thank you again, and thank you, everybody. We will see you again next time.